So they're in that mode of how we're going to create the regulations and then charge for those regulations. So that's the plan, but this is a 6-year plan, so I don't anticipate anything for, multiple years, but it is coming. They've got to do, and we're now the last state that didn't have any kind of groundwater monitoring. So this is a step forward, and we're just behind the curve.
Or Western state.
Western state.
I am curious to see the fate of our groundwater management plan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it gets handed off to the county, if we still play a role. I understand everybody wants to avoid redundancy of effort.
Well, I would hope that we should avoid being drawn into this at all costs, other than what we have to do for monitoring our wells in Wallace Community Services District, because that's our only groundwater system. But it raises a question in my mind. We're already drawn into it to a certain extent from our participating in groundwater monitoring for the state, set up under Ed Pattison a number of years ago. I assume that we're still getting reimbursements from the state for that, but we're kind of collecting that information. And I'm wondering, if we are, should this be turned over to the county?
We're gonna have to look to DWR for guidance on that.
I'm just sitting there thinking, if we're drawn into this in any way whatsoever, is it like being a little bit pregnant?
I won't know for a while.
9 months.
I don't think the county would figure out that long.
Anything further in legislative update?
No.
Thank you, Larry.
They're foolish enough to take it on.
Bay Delta issues?
It's a good thing.
Nothing to comment on there.
Okay, reports. Larry Diamond, interim general manager, any additional reports?
Just a small item, State Water Board adopted a new fee schedule for waste discharge requirements, something that applies to, I would say most, if not all of our wastewater plants. Some are under NPDES permits. But there's gonna be a fee increase of 7.9% over last year. I can't readily convert that into a dollar impact, but we've just been put on notice that water quality fees have gone up 7.9%.
What are water quality fees collected for?
Waste discharge requirement, reporting, and permitting. So all the wastewater plants,
So it's their administrative fee.
basically, yeah. So costs continue to rise.
Thank you, Larry. Jeff Meyer?
Just one announcement for myself, and I'm gonna defer to Joel.
Can you come up to the microphone? Thank you.
How I can screen from the back. The next Finance Committee meeting is Tuesday, September 30th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon here at the district offices.
Good thing you got that on the record from the podium. It's very important.
And at this point, I'd like to have Joel come up and report on our water production and our water conservation efforts.
Okay, thank you. What time is that on the 30th?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. I wrote down 2:30.
My apologies, Mr. President, 2:30.
2:30.
Okay.
See?
I am reporting to the state each month on our water production, and I made that report before the 15th deadline. I think it was on the 10th. We have August numbers I wanted to share with you. District-wide, we are down by 18% this year versus last year. And I'm really excited by that because we're continuing to improve our reductions. And I'm going to give you a service area by service area breakdown for the month of August. For Ebbets Pass, they reduced by 22.8% in August. Sheep Ranch was 39.9%. West Point was 24.7%. Jennyland was 22.4%. These are all reductions. Copper Cove was 21.1%, and Wallace was down by 19%.
Wow.
Everyone is reducing. So I'm very pleased that all the outreach we've done seems to be having an impact. We're seeing the reduction. I know the governor asked for 20% down. We're almost there. And we're pretty close to being over the hump of the hot weather, so this should get even better in terms of our water use. One other thing I wanted to let you guys know about is next month in October, we have to report our water sales, not just our water production. And that will be an interesting number to compare to the water production, and we'll have that for you once we've made that report to the state next month.
I have a quick question. I just read where Tuolumne County lifted their water restrictions. Does that conform with the governor's request? And when can we do it?
My general understanding is that they got some relief on their ability to draw water from storage, and that played into their decision to
Yeah, after-
provide some relief.
After Labor Day, PG&E releases more water out of Spicer, is where, and therefore.
Out of
they're-
Pinecrest?
I mean,
Pinecrest.
Spicer, Pinecrest.
Mhm.
They're only, their main source of water. And so when that happens, then they have a lot more water and a lot less restrictions. It's when
Well,
they
I'm just
put
curious, in the governor, I mean, is there are we supposed to continue to save water during the winter months?
Yeah, the curtailment hasn't been lifted by the state, right?
Well, there's the
270
curtailment,
day.
then there's the conservation
Yeah.
target that he established at 20%. As far as we know, it's 20% on a month-to-month basis. I don't know any different from the guidance
They were-
documents we received.
Their goal was 50%. Are we sure they didn't go from 50% down to 20, which is what the state was asking for in the first place? I'm not quite sure. I read the article.
50. Yeah, well, it just said that they lifted it and said you could use all the water you
I
want.
think they lifted the 50% request. And I'm not quite sure.
I'm curious,
Important
I
lesson.
understand they added a water surcharge though in Tuolumne County. Did we add a water surcharge?
No, we talked about that.
My understanding is that unless you have a mandatory water conservation plan in place, then the state regulations would apply to you. Since we had our drought contingency plan in place and we're following it, then we are okay. But if we lifted that, then it would revert to the statewide regulations that affect everybody.
That's good.
Good job. I'm anxious for those new numbers.
Me too. Anything else from the board on conservation?
That's good.
I heard through the grapevine you did a real good job the other day at the library.
Thank you. It was a very well-attended event, and there was a lot of good information presented. I hope we can do more of those things in the future.
Cool.
Ditto. Thank you, Joel. Charles Palmer, District Engineer. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You look this much taller.
So, engineering department is very busy. We're currently working on the lift station 22 project, trying to get that bid opening the 23rd next week. And hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, we'll have that on the agenda for the October 8th board meeting for award. And also working on a couple other higher profile projects to get those into construction, hopefully by spring, including the Reach 3A project and also the Big Trees South Zone project. So a lot of elements in both those projects, permits, having to work with other agencies, all that. And also on the Reach 3A project, we did just get a letter from Mike Sterinsky, who's the engineer with USDA, and he's signed off on the project. So it's just a matter of getting final approval of our application from Frank Rizzo. And then
I'm anxious for that.
it's close. And we also have a couple of other miscellaneous projects we're working on. The West Point Wilseyville consolidation project. We're in the process of the environmental work right now on that. And also we've adopted this project on the mill pond, as you've heard, to remove a lot of the sediment and vegetation that's grown up in there, and so we've got an archaeologist and a couple of foresters and biologists working on that to guide us as far as through the permitting process.
Do we have to have that completed prior to rainfall, filling that back up?
I think Bill Purley would like to see that happen, to the project to go forward as soon as possible. But there's just the permitting issues are just so difficult that I think we would have to come up with kind of more of a long, multi-year plan. So one thing we're looking at is there used to be a bypass channel that went around the side of that pond. So we're looking at restoring that and getting it back in operation so that, and the biologist, wetland scientists recommend this too, so that we're not putting flow back into that pond while we're trying to clean it out, So that would be the plan.
And you're looking for disposal site options, I think, as well?
Yeah, it's gonna generate a lot of sediment that we need to find a disposal site. I think Bill suggested maybe at the Arnold sewer plant, the field out there, and maybe we're gonna bug Sierra Pacific Industries a little bit about maybe if they have a site nearer to the mill pond where we don't have such a long hauling distance. So, and that's all I have to report, unless you have questions.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Bill Purley's not here today.
Oh,
Anyone
he-
reporting on behalf of Bill?
He just wanted to pass along word on Flying Acres. By this point, I'm not sure if any of the other staff members have heard otherwise, but Bill projected that the last of the meter boxes and meters should be put in up there in Flying. I know people have started doing the reconnects with the use of private contractors. I think it's still just a handful, as far as I know, that have connected. So that's where the focus has turned to. The project is winding down. Mozingo's finishing up, cleaning up, doing some punch list stuff. But now the real challenge is getting everybody reconnected, because at some point we're going to have to declare kind of a drop dead date for terminating service to the old system. Bill's remarked that there are periodic breaks in the old system, that those sorts of things continue, and at some point we'll have to just make a judgment call that enough time has been allowed for everybody to jump ship, get onto the new system, and deactivate it.
We need to give them at least 30 days, maybe as much as 45 days notice that we're gonna shut it down. These people don't live there.
No, that's a real issue. Most of the folks are out of county, out of state, and there's some communication challenges certainly there. But I believe we're going to give them, and have been giving them notice, but we'll continue to give them notice in advance of that termination.
What is the next step? I know what we're talking about here is them hiring from a list of plumbers that we've provided to move their
Yeah.
meter from the old system to the new system right in their front yard. Once you do shut off the old system, how many connections are there, first of all, and going forward? I'd like to be kept abreast of this. What is the numbers of people that have actually had it done? And then when you decide to shut it off, how many are left over? And would we ever consider bringing those plumbers in ourselves and adding that to their regular bill, or can that be done?
That's usually beyond our level of responsibility, beyond the meter. So it's not something we would typically be involved in.
Okay.
We don't wanna get started, or we'll end up painting their houses.
Okay. Anything else from Bill?
Well, he's involved to some degree, as Charles mentioned, in the mill pond permitting, and that's about it.
Okay. Board reports. Start with you, Dennis. Got any?
No.
Okay, and I have nothing to report at this time.
No reports.
Jeez.
That's up to you, Don.
Mountain County's board meeting on the 2nd of the month. We haven't had a board meeting now for, 12 weeks, Larry? Mountain County's board meeting where we're focused on, we were going to have a tour for Southern California folks, and they couldn't get their act together, so we postponed it till the spring and basically put it in their lap. This tour was to establish a clear understanding of how water in the Sierra impacts them. They seem to get lost. A lot of them think that the water magically appears out of the delta, and they don't recognize that the water from up here goes into the delta first. So that the tour was the big deal. We have another program with all of our affiliates that will be taking place next month that we've never done before. I'm pretty excited about that. Had EPOC meeting on the 3rd. These people are basically, curtailment is a huge deal. Everybody wants to tell their story about how they're taking a shower with their bucket and how they're not flushing the toilet until Tuesday. But the reality is they're on board. I'm really happy with the Ebbets Pass area. They really take this serious, so that's a positive thing. Let's see, going on to the 9th, there's a UMRA board advisory meeting that took place, and nothing of substance other than the fact that the water bond is going to change the availability of money in the future for UMRA. And maybe significantly. I'm going to be getting the numbers from Gary Bardini at DWR to try and get a better handle on how he expects the IRWMs to continue to exist with such a little amount of money. So we'll see how that works out. Let's see. On the 13th, Bill came up and we had a meeting with Millwood's board regarding the transfer or switching over to our system. One of the things that came out that they didn't seem to understand was that when they went to that existing system, all of the pipes that were put in are way undersized. So we're never, ever, unless they become a DAC, we're never, ever going to be able to get rid of the septic tanks and hook them completely into our system without digging all the streets up and basically putting a brand new system in, and that would probably have to be an assessment district issue, or it would have to be a DAC kind of a thing. And I don't think they'll ever be a DAC, so I don't think that's possible. But they were also wanted to talk about curtailment and all of the things that they're doing in order to cut back on water usage. The 11th, there was a quasi wild and scenic meeting where one of the East Bay Mud board members came up here to discuss probably a postmortem on how their board interacted with wild and scenic. It was real interesting that they're 1,000% behind us until it becomes a political issue, and it's real interesting to watch where they see their political bases and how they actually vote. They're 1,000% behind us as long as they can remain in office. So that's shouldn't be a surprise to absolutely anyone. But that was their point. Let's see. On the 15th, I had another meeting with Wild and Scenic on the same concept in terms of how do we reimburse Amador for the costs associated, and there was a little bit of talk in terms of what potentially could happen in 2015. So really the idea is everybody going to be involved, or is only going to be 2 or 3 players stepping up until all the boards make that determination? There's really nothing that was going to have any effect on us. And that's it.
Okay, there is one item I'd like to report is the East Bay Mud Barbecue is Friday, October 3rd at Party. Next board meetings, this coming Friday the 19th at 3 p.m. We do have a closed session board meeting here in this room. Following that, Wednesday, October 8th, 9 a.m., our regular board meeting will be here. And then also on October 22nd, 2014, 9 a.m. right here in this same room.
Scott?
And go ahead.
Before you jump over to 15, could I ask the board reconvene to close to cover the last item, which was 1B?
Oh, right.
Under closed, that we did not cover.
Okay. And we're going to go into a recess for a closed session. We do have one remaining item. We did have a closed session this morning between 9 and 11. We didn't get, we didn't get 1B covered, so we do have to cover 1B on our agenda at this time. So before we adjourn this meeting, we're going to go into closed session. So thank you.
Scott, where do you see that?